Now come to Unit 14, continuation of your work in Chapter 31. Previously, you translated the first series of verses, I think through verse 32. Now, verse 22. Now, verse 23 through the end of this section dealing with the new covenant, that is through verse 34. He has again issued forth this message of hope. Reversing the sorrows of Rachel. Lamentation will be turned to joy and celebration. Their destiny, their history will be reversed. As he says, beginning in verse 23, thus says Yahweh of hosts, Ko Amar Adonai Tzevaot, Elohei Israel. He's the God of Israel, who will once again speak the word in the land of Judah, when the cities have been restored. As he talks about again, the reversing of their captivity, the reversal of their fortunes, that the Lord will bless you, O abode of righteousness, O holy hill. Judah and all its cities will dwell together in it, the farmer and they who go about with flocks. For I will satisfy the weary ones and refresh everyone who languishes. At this I awoke, I looked, and my sleep was pleasant. So again, this is the backdrop of Jeremiah's dream of future hope, sorrow that's turned to great joy, and looking forward to the restoration of the hope of Israel. So then we turn to the classic passages of the New Covenant. First, the section 27 through 30, and then 31 through 34. In the initial passage, in the restoration, we have the rehearsal of those terminology of future hope. Behold, days are coming, verse 27, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and the seed of beast. Again, talks about the restoration of Israel and Judah, when it will be repopulated with the people of God and the beasts. He talks about here, the land will go back to its realm of being blessed by God as the people are faithful to Him and experience the fullness of God's blessing. So the days are coming when God will reestablish, He will restore the people. And he says, then, verse 28, as I have watched over them, verse 28, and again, a reminder that He has been watching. So he uses verse 28 where he says, V'haya ka'asher shakadati aleihim. Just as I have been watching over, remember the call of Jeremiah and the use of the noun shaked, almond, the play on words shaked to shoked, he is watching over. Now he says, just as I have watched over to bring judgment, and he again repeats those terminology of plucking up, breaking down, overthrowing, destroying, all heavy terms of massive destruction that came about over Judah and Jerusalem, ultimate disaster. So now I will watch over, and he repeats Eshked, I will watch over, that is, I will deliberately, out of my sovereign will, bring about the restoration of my people. I will watch over them to build and to plant, he says. I will bring back the blessing of building and planting, and they're reaping the full benefit of a right relationship to God. And goes on, in those days they will not say, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, the children's teeth are set on edge. Talks about back to the covenant stipulations back in Deuteronomy, where he talks about the sins extending to multiple generations, the third and fourth generations of unfaithfulness. That again, unfaithfulness of the fathers would lead to many generations of unfaithfulness, as was echoed throughout the history of Israel. And then he has the most important word where so often the people looked upon it in terms of corporate solidarity, the nation as a unit of unfaithfulness. But now he turns to a statement of personal, individual responsibility. Every one will die for his own iniquity. Each man who eats the sour grapes, his teeth will be set on edge. That is, it won't be like that which extends to multiple generations, but each person will be directly, individually responsible for their own sinfulness. So one of the clearest statements that we have of individual personal responsibility for their sins in the Old Testament. And then we come to the great reversal of the message of judgment. Verse 31, "Behold, days are coming, says the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah." I will set up a new covenantal relationship with my people. Again, looking at a unity of Israel and Judah. "It will not be like the covenant which I made with their forefathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt." So the new covenant will be unlike the Mosaic covenant, which Israel had broken time and time again, decade after decade, century after century. They had been unfaithful to that covenant, which was given through Moses at Mount Sinai, and again, the additional stipulations that we see throughout the history of Israel as echoed in what we often refer to as the Deuteronomic history, the material from Joshua through Kings. But, he said, in contrast to that covenant, which they broke, even though I was a faithful husband to them, and you can go back in this husband concept back to chapter 2 in the introduction of the covenant lawsuit passage in the first few verses of Jeremiah chapter 2. God was the faithful betrothed husband to Israel. And they were initially faithful, but unfortunately became unfaithful. So in contrast to that, this is the covenant, the new covenant to which he's referred to, which I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declare the Lord. That I will put my law within them, and on their heart I will write it. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. They will not teach again each man his neighbor, each man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least to the greatest of them, declares the Lord. And I will forgive their iniquity, and their sin I will remember no more. So the new covenant passage is one that God will, by his divine sovereign initiative, bring the transformation of the heart of his people. Covenant to be written upon their heart. And so we talk about Jeremiah as the prophet of the heart deceitful, dark, chapter 18, indelibly written with a diamond stylus. He uses that hyperbolic metaphor of a diamond stylus. They didn't have diamond styluses back when they wrote. They wrote with styluses made of wood and sometimes stone. But the depth of the sinfulness of the heart of the people, chapter 17, was as if it was written, etched on their hearts with a diamond stylus. Now God would write on the heart of the people a new law. He would establish a new relationship by transforming the heart of his people. And as a result, the fulfillment of the design of God as expressed in the message from Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and so forth, that I will be their God and they will be for me a people, is the way it literally reads in the Hebrew text. God would be the faithful God and they would be a faithful people because of God's transforming work on the heart of his people through this new covenant. And of course, we know that new covenant came through Jesus Christ. So we put together the messages of chapters 30 and 31 We see this message in the backdrop of the unfaithfulness of history of God's people, Israel and Judah. He will bring about a new hope and a new transformation through the ultimate righteous branch, Yahweh Tzedekenu, the Lord our righteousness. And by that we have been made righteousness by His work at the cross on our behalf.